Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Present.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Present.
Naylor?
Present.
Mayor Sarno?
President, if we could all please rise for a moment of silence, we will dedicate it to beloved kindergarten teacher, Bowles School, Patty Cable, on her untimely passing. And we will dedicate that moment of silence to her this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. If you weren't watching, we just had a great student representative presentation and just a knockout singer from Conservatory of the Art, Miss Burgos. The Little Mermaid was just outstanding. And for myself and all our school committee members, happy Mother's Day to each and every one of the mothers that are viewing now and the mothers here that are on the school committee.
Thank you.
So with that, we will move to approval of the minutes. Approve the minutes of the April 26, 2023 public hearing, the April 27th regular session, and the May 4th, 2023 special meeting. Is there any questions or comments or a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Vice Chair Naylor. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more sufficient votes, the matter passes. With the indulgence of the school committee, we have a special thank you award we're going to give out this evening. And we would request, I know he hates this, but the officer, Springfield Police Department Officer Steve Tatro, to come on up to the podium. Please, he's already come on up to the podium. And I know that some members are going to want to say a few words. I know you probably don't want to say a few words, Steve, but we have here a special glass plaque from the Springfield Public Schools, Springfield School Committee, from all of us, presented to Steve Tatro in special recognition and appreciation for your many years of dedicated service to the city of Springfield and the people of our community, and especially the school committee. You've been with us for a number of years, and we deeply appreciate that because you bring a sense of calm and helpfulness to not only the school committee, but the public that comes in here and assisting. And this is presented on the 11th day of May 2023. Congratulations, Steve, and we wish you all the best, and thank you for all your years of brave and dedicated service in wearing that uniform, not only professionally, but also with courage and with compassion, which you showed many a times here at the school committee meetings. So we're very, very proud of you and wish you and your family the best. And I know there's school committee members that'd like to say a few words. Superintendent Warwick?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Steve, for your dedicated service to the city of Springfield. And we've seen firsthand your positive manner, how well you interact with the public. So congratulations on your great service, and all the best in your well-earned retirement. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Collins?
Steve, sometimes officers are here and they're just part of the wallpaper. You've become a fabric of the committee. You have been interactive and you've been really there, and we've always felt safe with you in the room. It's been a pleasure to know you, and I know you'll enjoy your retirement, and thank you for everything you've done for us.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any other school committee members? Attorney Murphy, please.
Steve, I won't torture you too much. I know you don't want to be up there, but I just want to say thank you too. And I've known you a long time. We worked together way back, and you did a great job. You served the city really well, and I just really appreciate everything you've done for the city, and I hope everything goes great in your retirement.
Thank you, Peter.
Any other school committee members? Ms. Gresham?
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for your service, and thank you for always being visible and being here with us, and enjoy your retirement. You definitely will.
Thank you very much.
Any other school committee members? Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Steve, I just want to say congratulations. Thank you. God bless you and your family. As a son of a Springfield police officer, I appreciate everything you've done over the years. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Any other school committee members?
I would like,
Vice Chair Naylor?
Steve, I just really commend you on all the work that you do. I have two relatives that are in law enforcement and spent a lot of time taking care of everybody else. And I'm glad you get the opportunity to now take care of yourself. So make sure that you enjoy your retirement, travel, do all those things you said you wanted to do. Make sure that you get all of that done. Don't get caught up on other people's stuff after this hour of opportunity.
Thank you, Vice Chair Naylor. Ms. Hirsch?
Steve, I echo the sentiments of all of my school committee colleagues and just want to wish you the very best. And first and foremost, thank you for your service to this city, day in and day out. We know that it is not an easy job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hirsch. So this proud graduate of Putnam Vocational Technical Academy, if you'd like, we'd love to have you say a few words. Then we want you to come up, because we'd love to shake your hand, and we'll give you this well-deserved and nice tribute. So, Officer Tatro, Steve, it's up to you if you'd like to say a few words. We'd love the public would love to hear from you.
I'd be honored. No, it's very humbling. I appreciate the recognition. Obviously, 34 years ago when I started this venture, it wasn't for recognition. I grew up in the city. I love the city. You know, it's been a rewarding career. It's done well by me and my family. You know, I had a brother that was on the job too. My wife was on the job. It's been a great run. It really has. I've met a lot of great people, worked with a lot of great people, and hopefully the community keeps growing with the police department. I think there's great people in this city that need law enforcement. Continuing to build those bonds to try to keep the city moving forward and keeping the streets safe so people can go out and enjoy beautiful things that are happening in the city, because there's really a lot of great things going on. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Come on up, Steve. I think everybody wants to. Tearing up too.
No, not much. I always.
And typical, humble, didn't want this at all. We weren't going to let you go. Thank you very much.
Mayor, if I could.
Yes.
One thing comes to mind with our police and our firefighters from 9/11, when someone said they were running in when everyone else was running out. So just a thought that stayed with me, and just want to thank you, Steve.
Thank you, school committee, for your indulgence to honor Officer Tatro. Well-deserved, and thank you. We'll now move to voting items. A is to approve the school committee meeting schedule for 2023-2024. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Drafted up a calendar for you to look at. In this calendar, we have a meeting schedule similar to this year's. One change was that we've gotten our high school reps in here in front of us 5 times, because that is a requirement of the law, so that's built into the schedule. Something else that we were able to fit in was every middle school, high school is going to get a visit in here as well. So we're going to be able to meet with our student reps 5 times a year to comply with those requirements, and meet with everyone else at least once. So a lot went into this, but it's there before you. And again, it's very similar to the other features as other years, nothing new there.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments?
Yes,
Ms. Hurst, please.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I may have missed the conversation about the student advisory reps. So is it, what is it that the law calls for?
The law calls for 5 meetings a year with the school committee. And we thought we'd be in closer compliance with the law if we actually had them together instead of just each speaking out individually. So 5 of the speak outs would be the groups coming in together. They could speak for their school and then speak as a group.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it more informally than that. They were coming before us at least 5 times, but not as a group. So this would really bring us in tighter conformity with the law and probably be a nice piece for us.
And then I have one more.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
I feel like we've cut down on the number of working sessions we've had.
We
we
don't
used to
schedule all
have-
the working sessions in here. The working sessions we add on as needed.
As needed?
Yeah. So they're not in here, but we schedule them as needed. There's several of them that they come up, we need something, and we add it. So we usually do an extra 2 or 3 of those a year. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Any other questions or comments?
I did have a question.
Vice Chair Neely?
I know that we have a requirement for the high schools and the middle schools, and I asked the question via email if we could have also an opportunity for the elementary schools where the 5th graders could participate.
With this presence, we have 34 elementary schools, so we certainly couldn't fit it in this schedule. We'd have to come up with something different for that.
I don't think that, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think it needs to be all 34 of the schools, because I understand that would be a huge
I mean,
undertaking.
each elementary is meeting. Each school does have a council. So, yeah, so.
I would just like to hear, I mean, I just feel like we don't, except for now, which I do appreciate us having like the school presentations now, that has really been very helpful in learning more about the different practices in the schools. But I do think that would be really helpful. And the other part of my question was going to be around school visits. I know that you have visits scheduled, and I know there was a time when the school committee was more involved in those, even if we all can't make it, just to know in advance so that if we wanted to attend one of those, we could. I've had several constituents kind of like going at me, like, you never come and visit. They always come and visit. And I'm like, well, I didn't know. So it would be, it would be good to know
If
in
you can visit
advance.
those schools and you want to visit, we'll work with you on that. Absolutely.
Well, what I'm saying is if there's scheduled visits already,
The visits I do are a little more supervisory and that, but I'd be glad to take you through when you want to go through.
that would be great. And I think it's important, especially for the optics. I've heard comments from kids that I won't repeat here, but I think it's very important for them to know that there's also folks that represent their communities that are engaged at this level, because most of them don't have the opportunity to know who we are or what we're doing.
No, I'm always glad to take you through, so just let me know what your schedules are, and if you want to come through, glad to take you through.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Neely. Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Ms. Gresham?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we have the same number of public speak-out sessions?
Yeah, I believe we kept the same number. Yeah.
Actually, we went up, didn't we? Didn't we use?
Well, we went up the year before, or no, maybe we went up one this year, too.
We increased a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
We did.
We've had 4.
So it's the same as last year? I mean, this year?
Last
There's no change, okay. All right, thank you.
Same.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hurst? That's okay, that's okay.
One is to dovetail off of what Ms. Vice Chairwoman Naylor was just saying. When I was at the NSBA, they had a session I attended on like high-performing boards or school committees, and they do, and I feel like I remember us doing this at one particular point in time, but they do build into their calendar so that committee members can attend visits. So they'll do like one visit elementary, like a morning of elementaries one day, or afternoon at some other part of the year to the middle schools, and towards the end of the year, high schools. Doesn't necessarily have to be that, but at least we then can block it into our calendars, and then it gets posted, because there was questions about open meeting law. But I feel like we used to know when there was going to be some visits. It was a long time ago. Like when Ingram was here, I remember we used to get some notice about there would be like walkthroughs. And under your administration, we've done, like you always let us know the day of the first day of school, what your walkthrough schedule is. So I was just thinking that it would be good for people who have super busy schedules to be able to block those times out and say, I know I have school visits on that day with my superintendent. It's just a
We can
thought
certainly
of a
send
good
out a
practice.
proposed schedule to you if you want. No problem with that at all.
And then the second thing I was going to say is that I noticed that we have our last meeting in June on June 13th. But if we are following the same graduation schedule that we,
22nd. Oh, for next year.
for next year, it says June 13th, 2024. And so if we're following the same schedule that we follow this year, that would put us right in the middle of graduations.
I have to change that.
Okay. So we can,
Is that the old one?
The new one.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that the new one,
So like this year, we have 1, 2,
Thursday,
3, 4.
June 13th.
Yeah.
I don't have the graduation schedule with me. My guess is that could be a graduation date. So we could just change it to the 20th.
Yes,
Right,
because if we
right,
look at it, it would
right.
be the 20th would be
Yeah.
the next
So I
Thursday.
think let's make that change. Good catch.
Next year, the 13th would be a Thursday, which definitely would be a
Would
graduation.
Yeah,
probably be our
because we have
last
8 of them.
graduation.
Yeah.
So maybe Patty, if we can change that to the
To
20th.
the 20th.
you'll send out a reminder on that? Yeah, I'm almost.
We'll send out a new schedule.
Because we go
Yeah.
two weeks with graduations.
Yeah, we do.
Consecutively.
Good catch.
That's a good pickup to me.
Mr. Mayor,
If Ms. Hurst is done?
Yes, I just noticed that because I thought, oh, that's
Oh, good
really
catch. Thanks,
early, and
Denise.
we have like 8 graduations. How does that work?
Mr. Gonzalez?
That's all.
I didn't even notice that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Can we still amend and still vote on to pass?
I think we can amend and vote to pass. We'll just vote
Attorney
the
Phelps?
schedule with the June 20th change, right?
So we're gonna adjust to the, well, I'll let the, June, Thursday, June,
I would make a motion that we amend this calendar to move the last meeting from June 13th to June 20th.
motion made by Mr. Collins, second by Mr. Gonzalez. Roll call vote is required on that, and thank you for the pickup on that,
Yeah.
Ms. Hurst. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney
Can we-
Murphy?
Yes.
Do we have to do it for the whole vote? Okay. Okay, so let's just technically, I know we had the conversation already, as Ms. Hurst brought up, was a good pickup. We talked about it, we agree. Most definitely will be, we have 2 weeks of graduation continuously, so the 13th would be a graduation night. So the committee has discussed to move it to the 20th. Everybody's okay with that? Okay. So again, the motion was made by Mr. Collins, I believe, was seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. If we can continue or restart the roll call vote, please. On the amendment, amending.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more insufficient vote, this matter passes. Now is there a motion on the floor to accept the full schedule?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gonzalez, or second, please. Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient vote, this matter passes. Thank you, Attorney Phelps, for clarifying that, and Ms. Hurst for picking up on that. We'll now move to Section 4, informational discussion items. A is the Walsh School Best Practices Update. Superintendent, excuse me, Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a packet in your brochure on this. Vinnie Regan and his team at Mary Walsh School have done an absolute great job improving student performance outcomes at the school. They're also doing a great job leading some of the work in Portrait of a Graduate. They were one of our initial schools on that. Some examples of that are the ELA scores last year exceeded 490.3 for the scale score. The student growth percentile went from 35.1 to 48.6. This is coming off the pandemic. The math score, scaled score, went from 478 to 488.3. and the student growth percentile went from 27.9 to 54.4. And the science score was again above 490 at 492. So tremendous outcomes. The school's really engaged in a great turnaround. And on the top of the packet, you can see Mary M. Walsh Elementary School, and it was founded as the 16-acre school in 1941, which I think is pretty cool. I taught at the old 16-acre school when Mary Martin Walsh was the principal, so I think that's special. So she was a special principal, and so was Vinnie Regan. I'm going to turn it over to Vinnie and his team at Mary Walsh School, who have done a great job.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Principal Regan and team?
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick, Mayor Sarno. I'm glad to be here with some of my amazing staff from Mary Walsh, and I'm going to have a couple present with me, our ILSs, Kathy Scott and Veronica Trax, and also our computer science and PBL specialist, Allison Leach, are going to speak, but some other team members are here in support. We appreciate this Teacher Appreciation Week. So I'm just going to share my screen. Is there any way I can get access to share the screen for the PowerPoint? Sorry about that. There we go. Thank you. So Mary Walsh Elementary, I'm finishing my 8th school year here at Walsh. It's been we've made a lot of changes, and we're continuing to move forward. So let me just start this slideshow. Sorry. I can tell you that the end of my first school year there in 2016, we were in the 6th percentile across the state, right at the edge of level 4. A few years later, we made the 20th percentile in 2019, right before COVID changed how MCAS was administered in our whole school thing. This last year, we were considered in the 31st percentile, which we're proud of, and we're hoping our next goal is going to be hitting the 50th percentile. Maybe this MCAS will in the next couple for sure. We're very proud of some of the subgroup movement we've made. So 96% of our kids are considered high needs, and our rating is at a higher percentile, 47th percentile in the state. For low income, 50th percentile, and for Hispanic and Latino children, 72nd percentile. So we want to keep going with that and make sure all our subgroups continue to make effective progress. With that, our multi-language learners as well, 88.1% made their language proficiency goals in their last access exam. We're going to present tonight talking about our important ELA and math professional learning community foci, talk about being in the portrait of the graduate cohort 1, speak about CS for All being in the cohort 1, talk about how our participation in the Kaleidoscope Collective for Deeper Learning from DESE a couple years ago catapulted us into the Mass PBL Works School Leader Network and some of the work we're doing with that. I'm going to invite Veronica Trax to unmute and present about ELA.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us and recognizing this. I want to first recognize our staff at Mary Walsh, Mr. Regan, along with our leadership team at the district level, including Shannon Collins, Laura Menz, Carol Leverock, Laura Lee Cabrera, Kate Asher, and others. And if it wasn't for these brilliant, dedicated professionals, none of this would be possible. So our ELA foci this year was small group instruction and writing. The content of our small group instruction was provided by Collaborative Classroom with the use of SIPs and SETs, Haggerty and Sabas. All of our staff took part in lesson studies, learning walks, and the creation of videos during small group instruction. This allowed for deep reflection on our practices to verify that our content was delivered clearly, concisely, and consistently. Our writing focus began with curriculum mapping, including vertical mapping through the grades. Teams brought student work to PLCs to analyze. Goals were created both by the students and the teachers based on the students' strengths and weaknesses of the standards and rubrics. This occurred multiple times throughout the year to examine and celebrate the progression and success of our scholars. In grades 3 through 5, we used MCAS rubrics to guide these conversations and goal setting. And as a result, we are here today. So thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. I'm going to invite Kathy Scott to unmute and speak about some of our math foci.
Sure. Thanks, Vinny, and thanks for having us tonight. It's been an exciting year watching our learners grow academically and also watching their joy of learning grow as they have a little bit more ownership of that learning. In math, we are so fortunate at Mary Walsh to have the intervention team that we have in place, both for ELA and math. We have three full-time intervention teachers. We were fortunate about right before COVID hit to train many of our veteran staff with the math recovery intervention program, which even before the district started training anyone. So we really had a head start on that movement. And those are assessments that actually provide a level for instruction for students, which is something that was definitely missing in elementary mathematics before that. We also have 6 to 8 week cycle data meetings with our intervention teams, which include our intervention teachers and each grade level teacher, as well as myself. We all meet and look at where students are and move them around as needed. It's really a dynamic way to go about mathematics. I'm so excited about it. And of course, we also use iReady Diagnostics to help with those decisions. Other materials use Math Recovery, iReady Curriculum Associates, the Ready Classroom Math. So we continue to use those. The other the other focus that we've had with math is this idea of developing efficient strategies for problem solving. And that begins with a full staff training of number talks. That's ongoing. So that kids really have a good sense of the numbers they're working with instead of just blindly applying a strategy that maybe that's in their textbook. They're really looking at numbers and choosing which strategies fit for each problem. And also developing those strategies to be more efficient, starting with developing that with staff. And that's passed on to then developing it with students as well, because we all learn as math to be better problem solvers, whether we're adults or children. So the PLC foci is for the whole year has been unpacking those number sense standards, getting them really strong with their number sense understanding, and the vertical progression of K to 5, analyzing student work to plan for developing efficient strategies, and of course, data analysis, with the end goal of having kids be articulate and defend solutions first verbally and then in their writing. So it's really addressing those standards for mathematical practice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathy and Veronica. I've been a principal in other districts, and I just want to say that the ILS role in Springfield is really essential and a big part of why we're moving forward. So I really appreciate the leadership of our ILSs. It's a game changer for us. Being part of the first cohort of the Porch to the Graduate, we made an action plan. This is our framework. Many of the things we've spoken about, some of them we haven't. We're going to speak more about project-based learning quite a bit in a minute. So we've been developing and piloting integrated units with project-based learning. We are part of the CS for All, and we've actually have another layer with robotics. We're hoping to have that robotics layer for next year. We've developed a primary person model to implement for next year, so all students have a trusted adult in the building. We're going to continue to strengthen our inclusive practices. A big part of our school is having as many kids in least restrictive setting as possible. We have increased our family and community engagement and have an active PTO now, which we hadn't had for a few years, so we're glad to have that back, an active seating team. Our multi-year systems of support, we've added additional academic and behavioral interventions. SIPs in particular and math recovery have really made a huge difference in our academic progress. We have a very strong PBIS team, and we are very focused on social emotional learning and restorative practices. I have really strong counselors and City Connects people as well who make up our leadership team, and I'm glad to speak about that to anybody anytime. We've changed how we teach now, so we have Promethean boards and amplification systems in every room to support multimedia learning. We have a garden that we're having students manage, and we're partnering with Sodexo to make that happen so kids can learn how to garden and use some of that food in our program. We are piloting many schedule improvements. We've had different iterations to try to include our project-based learning. And so going into next year, we've learned a lot, and I think we're in a good place. We spent a lot of time on team building with our staff, and we have a wellness committee that's very active to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our staff. We partnered with CCC, who's our ELA vendor. It had some additional coaching with some of our ESSER funds, which has been really transformative and helpful, especially for me. And last but not least is project-based learning, which is a big part of our school. I can tell you a little bit about why we chose project-based learning. We were seeking a deeper learning opportunities and trying to make sure the kids were engaged. The research said a lot of kids get turned off to school by middle school. So we wanted to find ways that were student-centered and build that intrinsic learning motivation. So integrating that plus social emotional learning as part of the Massachusetts Kaleidoscope Collective for Deeper Learning, we identified project-based learning. And we found that we chose that because it focuses on identity, student identity, choice, voice, agency, and authentic work. Our theory of action was that if we implement PBL consistently year after year, the Walsh students will be better prepared for the transition to Springfield secondary schools and success in a rapidly changing 21st century society. We know that we're preparing kids for a world that doesn't exist yet, and jobs that haven't been invented. So we wanted to build creative problem solvers that can do things in new and novel ways. And PBL Works was a good vendor for us, and we were part of the first school leader network in Massachusetts. And they helped us professional development-wise and keep going. I'm going to invite Allison Leach, who has been our PBL leader, to speak for the next few slides. It's quite a bit of content, but we appreciate that, Allison. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, I'm Allison Leach. I'm working closely with all the teachers to implement PBL at our school. This year, we've implemented 3 to 4 projects in every grade level. And each grade participates in a showcase event after each project to showcase their learning, as well as 2 public showcase events each year where they're showing off things that they're the most proud of from their work that they improve on through the projects and then present to the public. So that's been a really cool thing that we've added this year. These are the projects that we've completed in K-1. Kindergarten's completed 4 projects. First grade ended up doing 3 so that they could go a little deeper in that 3rd project. Second grade has done 4. 3rd grade, same thing as first. They went a little deeper in that 2nd project, so they extended it, with 4th and 5th grade going into 4 projects. Before launching each project, we do a gallery walk with the teachers during an extended day. We prep for these meetings during common planning time for a couple weeks prior to having this happen. This gives an opportunity for teachers to really dive into other people's projects and give them feedback so that when we go to launch those projects, they're as strong as they can be.
Ms. Leach has also supported people looking at it through an equity lens as well, which has been really important in this process. And each project has been seen through the equity lens to try to ensure for that.
So last year, we really focused on defining a driving question and problem before launching the project. So the teachers had a full grasp on that before even starting it with the students, as well as giving students choice and voice and making sure to showcase their work so that it's really meaningful to them, as well as authenticity. This year, we focused on sustained inquiry, reflection, with having a reflection after each PBL survey that stays consistent so that we can gather some data, which we're going to show you in a minute. Critique and reasoning, having a public product, and having a problem focus. So this is just some of the most current data from our last project that we finished in March. We're currently in our 4th project of the year right now, which will be wrapping up right at the beginning of June. So this just shows some data from the grade 2 to 5 students who are really showing that they strongly feel that they're improving their critical thinking skills, their communication skills, their collaboration skills, as well as feeling like they're learning important information that they will use in their schoolwork and their life. This is a couple more data points. This last project I thought was one of the best that we had yet, with students thinking that the overall, except for 2 students, thought that they did their absolute best work in this project, which was awesome. They also really felt like they engaged in work that connects to things they're interested in. They felt they were making a difference beyond their classroom, and they got a chance to make choice about how, what, or when they were learning. Lastly, they felt like they were learning to be better team members and leaders. We'd like to see that leader section go up a little bit more as well. They did get a chance to share their final work, and that reflection pieced in the last data where they thought they know how to improve their learning next time. A couple things that we are coming up with for challenges right now is PBL, as we would love to see it integrated more into what we're doing every day at Walsh. Whereas right now it kind of lives in this separate section as something extra that we do. And we are finding ways that we can integrate it into the curriculum that we have, especially when it comes to science and social studies. And integrating some CS for all and computer science things into the projects as well. So we are figuring out ways to do that, but it's definitely been a little bit tougher with some of the curriculum restraints that we have.
So for our next steps, some of the areas we're trying to strengthen for our PBL implementation is we're going to continue to use formative assessment to drive deeper learning and stronger questioning to lead students to have higher outcomes. We want to continue with the standards alignment in integrating with the core curriculum. We want to get the kids to continue to improve their feedback skills and do things with your peers. That's an important collaboration skill we're continuing to grow. We're going to go to 3 projects per grade per year next year. Now that we're out of the school leader network, that was a request of the staff because it is a little extra. But the quality of the project is going to be improved. So we're confident that the 3 is going to yield us the same results as having 4. We're going to continue to have 2 public showcase events a year. This year, ours are going to be in June, June 7th, 8th, and 9th. And I'm glad to host anybody that would like to come to any grade level because all kindergarten to 5 will have some presentation. I'm glad to share that with anybody interested to seeing that. And the final presentations will happen at the grade level. And we have the students are all involved. So all the students have seen everybody else's projects as well, which has been really awesome. And we're continuing to improve those presentations from students. We believe as they continue to grow, kids do it year after year, will continue to build their skill and will continue to grow. We are working with PBL Works, even though we're exiting the school leader network. We're going to continue to work with a coach from them. Her name is Mila Lee. She's been really instrumental in our growth and our professional development. So we're going to continue that with some ESSER funds. We're going to have a Walsh expert list for future projects just to keep building our internal capacity. In the summer, 1st and 4th grade will be participating in curriculum mapping to try to improve that alignment and use our core instruction with PBL. We're hoping to have all grade levels with that over the next few years. We started last year with kindergarten and 3rd grade. And then last year, we sent 5 staff to the PBL World Conference, and 4 more are going this summer, including myself. So we're excited for that. So we were able to go, they were a lot of professional development last year in California through some of the ESSER funds. And this year, I'm not very good at keeping secrets, so I'm not really supposed to announce, this is not public yet, but since we're here, I'm going to do it anyway, that our school has been recognized as the PBL World School Champions for 2023. It's a high honor. We're the first school in the Northeast to receive that. We're going to be the 5th award winner ever. So we're really excited for that. And I'm really proud of our staff. We achieved that. We have a video I'd like to show. I think I have to stop sharing and reshare because I didn't do it correctly. Share sound. Sorry. That we're going to show about our project-based learning journey, and I'm glad to take any questions after.
PBL is when you make projects to help try and tackle and prevent certain problems.
PBL is about making a difference in the world, helping the community, and making a difference.
Looking at a problem and finding solutions.
You could get a chance to work as a group with students and classmates and make a difference in the world and try to solve different problems.
PBL is a learning process of gaining information about the real world.
It gives people a chance to be creative and learn to build stuff and just have fun.
A few years ago, we were looking for deeper learning strategies to try to get the kids prepared for college, career, and community readiness. And so through a process with Kaleidoscope as part of Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we identified project-based learning as a really great engagement strategy that can work on 21st century skills, give kids choice, voice, agency to support engagement, and help them work on real-world, authentic problems and come up with solutions in new and novel ways.
3 big reasons. I think 1 is increased student engagement. 2 is a huge opportunity for kids to have choice, voice, and agency. And when they have that, we see huge levels of engagement increase, and then they're able to apply skills they've learned in other content areas to meaningful projects, which bring their understanding of those skills even higher.
PBL has brought deeper learning and engagement to my kids in the classroom.
The students love to do their own independent work. It is not coming from a text, it's not coming from me. It's research that they are able to do when it comes to real life problems in the world. It's something that they have been able to take ownership in, and that the end result is usually something that they are extremely proud of because of all the hard work they've done and researched into finding the solution.
At Walsh, we have a large percentage of our school that is a high needs population, and having PBL allows those students in particular to feel really confident because they're engaged in a way that they aren't in traditional curriculum necessarily, and it just allows them to access the content in a deeper way.
It's really cool to see the kids expose their creative side and be hands-on with learning and kind of driving the course of where the learning's going for that unit.
My favorite part of PBL is that you get to work in a group and you get to work with people that you have never been friends with, so you get to hear their ideas and it brings inspiration.
Being able to research stuff and knowing new things. Getting to work with people in your class and collaborating with people you usually wouldn't work with.
Working together is my favorite part of PBL because 5 brains is better than 1 brain.
When we get to brainstorm ideas to help the community.
Trying to make a difference in the world, like helping people.
Presenting to kids and the adults so they can learn more.
You could work in a group and you could be creative.
At the end of it, like when we finished everything, and we get to show our projects to everybody, and like if they like it, it makes me feel good about myself.
Building stuff and presenting it to the public, because like it kind of helps them. When we did the climate change and we built like a little house, that's what kind of sparked some hope in that we could try and help others.
So I think that it's empowered kids to see themselves as the arbiters of their own learning rather than just being told by teachers what is and what should be. It's allowed kids some freedom to find their own path and make sure that they are in the driver's seat of their own growth. And I think it's empowered them to have a voice that they didn't know they had when they're doing their spotlights. That's been really great to see them really come out of their shell and shine by teaching others things that they found and ideas that they have.
I've seen them in other curriculum aspects, whether it's a PBL block or outside of a PBL block. They are able to get really excited about what they're learning and have ideas that I wasn't seeing before. Maybe they see a connection between ELA and science that they hadn't seen before, and they're able to use those skills that they've learned during PBL, whether it's teamwork, whether it's presenting and interviewing skills. They're able to take those and apply them to their learning in a new way.
You know, in my classroom, the kids say we have a community where everyone's important, but no one's more important than anyone else. And I think that comes to life through PBL so incredibly, because when they're collaborating in a group, they understand that every one of them is bringing something to the table as they're brainstorming and then creating and then improving the designs that they're doing, the projects that they're creating. So I think that that changes everything. Like you can feel it in your bones. You can feel it. You can get goosebumps when you're listening to them actually internalize that and bring it to life, either when they're presenting or most importantly through the process that they're going through as project-based learners.
I feel like students they are more engaging and they are willing to at least take chance to participate and express their feelings and their thoughts about any subject we're learning, from PBL to different subjects.
With PBL, students have been way more engaged in what they're doing. It's improved the classroom culture because they are working in teams more than they would have been otherwise. That also allows them to be leaders more in the classroom at different points, and everyone has had a chance to be a leader throughout.
The students in my classroom are excited, attentive, and responsible for their own learning during PBL. They look forward to the PBL block that we have and get very excited about it.
It's changed them in a way that it's made them more confident in what they are learning. They have become extremely proud to share and show the results of their projects, where we have very shy students who enjoy getting up and presenting their project. It's something that they take ownership in, and I feel it has boosted their confidence in presenting their work.
One of the best parts of PBL is getting to see the kids become inspired. They become inspired from each other through other kids that they've never met, and just examples that we've shown them. They're inspired by us, and it truly is one of the biggest times in the school year where I just see their eyes shine brighter and they recognize I can do this, and that's a really cool feeling.
It helps me work as a team and solve problems in many different ways.
PBL will help me in the future by helping me solve real world problems.
Collaborating and working in groups, since I know I'm probably going to have to do that more in middle school and high school.
By helping the community and making a difference as a kid.
If I was in an interview and for a job, I would I know to be respectful and be kind to one another.
It helped me actually think about stuff before doing it, and also with bullying and stuff, but I didn't know that it was this bad, so it kind of helped me learn more about it and actually help people and tell them it's not okay.
I'd like to see more core instruction happen with a project-based learning approach. I think we're never going to be a full PBL model, but I'd like to see more of our core strategies and standards happen through a student-centered approach, including PBL, and make that shift so that we can empower kids to light the spark inside themselves to have that intrinsic love of learning and see themselves as powerful members of the community that have important things to say and do, and can see that their impact is real.
My students are able to see any problem around them as a project and have the ability to solve it and know how to do some research and then find some solutions to the problem they've been facing in the future.
Right now, I feel like PBL is its own thing rather than integrated into the curriculum. In 5 years, I hope to see PBL is just what we do here at Walsh and not a whole separate thing.
My goal is to hopefully have the PBL used across the curriculums, from math to art to science to social studies, that it's going to be an impactful tool, an impactful program that we will be able to incorporate within every subject at our school.
My vision for Walsh over the next 5 years would be to see PBL become more of an integrated part of what we do here, between curriculum, materials, resources that teachers are able to use. I would like us to have more autonomy over what we're using and how we're going to use it. I think that this directly connects to seeing the student excitement. I think that if our day were more integrated, we could choose those standards appropriately and make sure that we're covering the standards in PBL rather than having to use curriculum that's given to us.
PBL be more student-driven than it already is. I would like to see students actually identifying problems without me asking them questions and them being the ones to drive the projects. I want to see students being more proud of their work too, and excited to show it off to others and not feel like it's another thing that they have to do, but something that they want to do.
To really have this stance of inquiry where kids are authentically asking meaningful questions, not meaningful questions because I say they're meaningful, but meaningful questions because they have meaning to them. So that's one, that you can hear that buzz in the room, that there really is a sense of authentic, I can ask and answer questions. And I think secondly is intentional integration. So really looking at standards, reading, writing, math, science, social studies, and beyond, right? Computer science, art, music, thinking about all those standards and how we can intentionally plan so that we are equitably including those standards, practicing those standards and demonstrating mastery in those standards in meaningful project-based learning ways.
I can't wait to see what my kindergartners are capable of after having PBL from kindergarten to 5th grade.
And sometimes Superintendent Warwick gets emails from kids at Walsh School because of PBL, and I didn't know they were getting sent to you, so I appreciate you indulging that and sending them back so I can handle. And Mayor Sarno, you've supported us and had the kids reach out to you. I know Representative Neal has, and a lot of people in the community have supported us through experiential learning opportunities through PBL. So we appreciate you doing that with us. So that's our presentation for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Regan and the team. I don't know if there's any questions or comments from school committee members.
Absolutely.
Vice Chair Naylor?
The first thing that I thought, and school committeeman Gonzalez may agree, when we were at Mission Vista and we talked about what it looked like as high school and what it would look like as an elementary school, and watching what the students are doing at Walsh is exactly what I would imagine. And so looking at the students' faces and looking at how excited they are about working and the topics of conversation in all of your projects for your different grade levels, I mean, these are phenomenal conversations alone, never mind having the kids really take on these projects in a way that is so meaningful, from the tiny house to the starting a business to taking action against cyberbullying. I mean, these are some really important topics. So for students to be so engaged and being able to find their footing academically, as well as something that means a lot to them, is just amazing. So I just wanted to say kudos to you and your team. We definitely need to be having this replicated, because I'm imagining that with all of this work and the engagement and the belonging that the kids are feeling in their groups and everything, that the numbers of students who are being bullied, the number of students who are being harassed, the number of students who are getting suspended or whatever are probably extremely low, if any, because kids feel like they belong to something. So I'm making an assumption because I haven't seen that data, but I would just imagine that the culture in the building is not just felt by the students and the staff, but also the families, because it's just, the pictures warm my heart, watching the students. I will go on and on, but I'm gonna be quiet. But I just had to say that, like, I love the passion, I love the everything. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. I'm so happy to know that this is happening in our schools and in our district.
Thank you, Vice Chair Naylor. Very heartfelt put. Yes, Ms. Hurst.
Principal Regan, great presentation to you and your staff. I did have a question, and I'm not sure if it's to you or to the superintendent. I guess my first question would be, and maybe this is to the superintendent, who else does PBL?
I think every school is doing something.
Okay, and then I was looking, or my ears perked up when they talked about the challenge and its incorporation into all of the curriculum, and just wondered why that's a challenge. Like, why have we not scaled it?
Well, Massachusetts is very standards-based and very tight relative to its standards-based curriculum. So as you move to this, you have to take a look at all those standards and incorporate it into these projects very carefully to make sure you're teaching those standards. So Massachusetts has a very tight standards-based situation. It takes a lot of work to make sure your projects make sure that you're getting all those standards completed at every grade level, so that those students, when they get to grade 10 to take the test for their CD, are going to be able to pass that test. So that's a tremendous amount of work.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Certainly a great leadership team in this presentation this evening, and it's and behind every great leadership team is a great staff. And we have said from this meeting, this body, a number of times we would put our staff up against anybody else. And just to follow up on something that Vice Chair Naylor said, we often look outside for expertise, and a lot of times we should be looking inside for expertise. These presentations where the schools are coming are really great for the school committee, because we get to see all these different approaches And there's lots of paths to get to the end goal. And to see what all the different schools are doing, and hopefully the public is watching the same things, because we've got a lot of expertise going on in this building, in this system, that we should all be proud of. And we're very proud of you at Walsh School.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any other questions or comments?
It's just,
Superintendent Warwick?
as Latonia was saying earlier, taking a look at Walsh School on the ground. When you visit Walsh School, that's what you see. So, and you don't see the suspensions are way down. Everything else that goes with it is there, and they're absolutely doing a phenomenal job. So it's really a pleasure to go see it. And just want to give kudos to Vinny and his wonderful team at Walsh School. Like I say, it's incredible what they've accomplished, and you can see what they're going to accomplish together.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. If there's no other questions or comments, and thank you, Principal Regan and your team, and what you do for Walsh. We deeply appreciate that. We'll now move to a B, Staffing Diversity Update. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Melissa Shea and Valerie Williams do the diversity work in the hiring. Prepared a report. We now have all the state data, so they prepared the report for you for this year on it. You have a packet, and we'll have an online presentation of it.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick and Attorney Shea and Principal Williams. Still call her Principal Williams from Pottinger School.
Yes, indeed.
Well, we're pleased to present an update on our hiring initiatives and our diversity data. Fortunate to have Valerie Williams, who's our Senior Administrator of Talent and Diversity Development now, and she's going to lead our presentation. Valerie?
Hi, good evening, Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick, and our school committee members. I apologize, I'm having internet difficulty here today, and it just started active about 5 minutes ago, so if you can bear with us. Melissa, are you going to share the screen?
Oh, yes, sure, I'd be happy to.
All right, I think that's better just in case I go out. But I am excited tonight to present our student to para educator to teacher pipeline and diversity data. So just an overview of our presentation. It's an opportunity for me to share with you our data, but not only that, to provide you a context on how we develop our recruitment and our pipeline plans. I was hoping to provide this report to you earlier, but our DESE just released some of the data that we were waiting to receive, and we've now received it, so we are very happy to present this presentation to you. So our next slide here provides you with some background context to not only what's happening in our state, but throughout the rest of the country with teacher shortages. So in addition to looking for teachers for classrooms, we're also looking to diversify our workforce. So as you can see the map here that they have from the, I believe it's from the U.S. teacher, it's from ABC News regarding the U.S. teacher shortage map. And as you can see, just about every state in our union is reporting teacher shortages, and the ones that are in the orange colors or the yellow colors, there's no statewide data available for them yet. So as we're looking at colleges and universities to see how many students are majoring in education, we also look to see how many teachers of educators of color are also majoring in education. So for example, if you take a look at Westfield State's data, you see that of the 95.9% that are not Black or African American, we have 3.1% that are Hispanic, Latino educators of color, as well as 1% that are African American. So that 4.1% is what we're targeting to try to come to Springfield Public Schools to work for us. So this is just a clear picture of what education majors around our area are. The data is showing diversity data as well as teachers who are people who are majoring in education themselves. So it kind of gives you an overall feel for what we look at when we start to recruit from our colleges and universities and who we're targeting to recruit to come to Springfield Public Schools. So as you can imagine, if I'm looking at this data, all of our surrounding districts are looking at the data as well to see where they can also diversify their workforce for their district. So in addition to looking at the colleges and universities and seeing what the majors for education stand in those numbers, in order for teachers to come and work as a teacher in the state of Massachusetts, they have to take what's called the MTEL, the state test. So as you can see, this is a slide of the people who take the MTEL, and it kind of calculates it by area, by race, and passing rates. So for example, 02 is communications and literacy skills. So all teachers must take that one test in addition to their subject area. So for example, if you can see 01 is communication and literacy skills, if you slide over to, for example, our Black or African American candidates who take the MTEL, they're 48% that are passing. So if I am looking at that, and I'm also looking, if you look down to maybe middle school mathematics, I'm interested in teaching middle school mathematics. And as a Black female, there's only 10% of that category that are passing the MTEL for middle school math. So that narrows our pool a little bit more so that these are the eligible teacher candidates that are eligible to teach in the state. So not only do we look at our universities and colleges of who's majoring in education, but we also take a look at our MTEL to see who's passing the MTEL, and this is our pool of candidates that we have to pull from that pool. So as you can see, this is our diversity data by hire for, we compare 2012 to 2022. So as you can see, despite the national and statewide trends, it shows that Springfield Public Schools is making gains. As you can see in 2012, where we were based on 2022. So as you can see, our numbers are growing for diversity in those categories. And despite what the state and national trends are showing, Springfield Public Schools is moving in the right direction. So with all that being said, I just wanted to, we have innovative ways to recruit and retain teachers. And this becomes our purpose for what's called our pipeline of programs. So one of the things that we do, is you can see the data that I showed you earlier about the number of graduates that are coming out of schools, the number of diverse graduates that are coming out of schools. So we have to look at ways that we can increase the teacher pool. And one of those things that we do is to grow our own programs, meaning that we start with our students who are interested in becoming education majors. We look at our para-educators who are looking at becoming teachers, and then our teachers that are looking to become administrators. And so for Grow Our Own programs, we look to work within our staff and develop our own staff to become paraeducators, to become teachers, to become administrators. Because if you saw the first couple of slides that I showed you, if we don't have another innovative approach to recruiting and to move up for our teaching staff and our administrators, we need to have those things in place in order to be successful as a district. We also, the purpose of the pipeline programs is to offer high school graduates an opportunity to work within SPS. And that's one of our pride and joy, that when students are graduating from SPS, they're going to college, they're coming back to work for us. Those who are going to community colleges, they take classes at night and come as paraeducators to work for us during the day. Another role for our purpose of our pipeline is to increase the candidates and teachers and our paraprofessionals, and also to increase the number of diverse employees within SPS. So our student population is 91% diverse. And so by hiring diverse employees, we know the statistics with students learn better and students achieve more. So we try to find innovative ways to make sure that we bring our diversity numbers up in Springfield. And this is some of the things that we do. To increase the options that paraeducators can obtain bachelor's degree or master's degree for licensure. And this is very important because if you are a paraeducator and you have a dream of becoming a teacher, we have programs that are on our pipelines with universities and colleges that will help you to become certified as those teachers and then certified as administrators. So we recognize that there's not one program to fit all of our employee needs. So each year we constantly add to this pipeline so that we're developing more opportunities for our employees to further their education. So some of our partners that we work with, we have excellent partners that we work with throughout our pipelines. And some of the reasons that we work together so well, the coursework is designed for SPS employees. As a previous principal, I can tell you, you want your staff to, if they're going to school, you want them to apply what they learn in the classroom. And so with us working with our local colleges and universities, we help them to design coursework that's relevant for our employees to come back and actually to teach students so they can flourish in those lessons and activities that they do. We have convenient hours for SPS employees, their after work, their weekends. They try to work around our district schedule, which is something that in other states they really don't try to accommodate, but I have to give our partners a lot of credit because they value our employees and they want to work with us to help increase our pipeline. And so they have that flexibility for our employees. They also offer tuition assistance to our employees in specific programs. They also offer financial aid and they offer academic supports to our employees as well. And that's especially around the MTELs and the prep courses for that as well. And some of our pipeline partners is Westville State, specifically our Reach to Teach program, which we are so excited about our Reach to Teach program. Reach to Teach program works with our high school students in order for them to have tours of the Westville State. They meet with the professors at Westville State. They attend some of the classes during the day on our tour. So for example, earlier this year, Dr. Yolanda Johnson, Zell Caban, and myself, and a group of counselors and teachers from local schools went to Westville State for the day. And so we toured their campus, we attended classes, and you can imagine one of the highlights of that trip was lunch, all you can eat and imagine in a cafeteria for students. Was great. Westville State sponsored us. And so the goal of Reach to Teach is that our students enroll in Westville State's educational program. And from there, when they do the 4 years at Westville State, we come back as employers and employ the graduates of Westville State. And we have several students that are in that program that have graduated from Westville State and they're teachers in our district. So that's a great feather in our cap. Also, we have SPS high schools for early education track, and those students work with they're high school students that work with our local high schools they're interested in becoming preschool teachers or kindergarten teachers. And so they're given that experience throughout the day of working in a classroom setting, assisting the classroom para and the classroom teacher as well. One of our latest Department of Transitional Assistance, Holyoke Community College and Springfield Works and Springfield Public Schools partnered last year to provide participants for the DTA, Department of Transitional Assistance, a way that they can volunteer in our schools through Springfield School Volunteer. And they volunteer, they get skills as becoming a paraeducator. They take what's called the Work Keys test, and then they are eligible to be hired as paraeducators. And so we're very excited with that program. We've hired several of the volunteers as actually paraeducators for us. And so we're just excited with that. One of our other pipeline partners is Springfield Technical Community College. They work with not only our students who are going to that school in the fall for courses, but they also help us to prep students and potential applicants for what's called the Work Keys test. The Work Keys test is a test that all paraeducators must pass. It's a test based on reading, writing, and math skills. And once you pass that test, you're eligible to become a classroom paraeducator. And STIC does an excellent job of providing workshops and other aids to help students as well as prospective applicants pass the Work Keys test. We have great partnerships with Springfield College. Our Paraprofessionals Union has an excellent program, one of our popular, called Union Plus. This is a tuition-free program where not only our employees, but their family members can go to school for absolutely free. Yes, I did say absolutely free. They can obtain an associate's degree out of Gateway Community College, which is in Ohio, and then a bachelor's degree from Wilberforce, Ohio as well. And that program, once again, is totally free to employees of the union as well as their family members. And we also partner with American International College, as well as some of our other universities that are shown here, Bay Path, Elms College. Our latest one is Cambridge College at Puerto Rico, which gives our employees a great opportunity to explore school in Puerto Rico and receive degrees from that university as well. One of our latest partners was UMass University Without Walls, and this is a program that I'm very proud of because it's for all of our employees who are not necessarily teachers or going the paraeducator track, but they're interested in obtaining a degree. And this program works with them on that. The Paradigm Shift is our teacher coalition force that is a partnership with Holyoke Public Schools, Chicopee Public Schools, Amherst, Mount Holyoke College, Smith College, UMass, Springfield College. We all come together at least once or twice a month to talk about ways to diversify the teaching force. And so with that partnership and that coalition, we're able to combine resources to provide a lot of different services for our employees around the district. So our next slide here is how do we recruit staff, which is in this day and age, you have to have a new approach because everybody is trying to recruit. So one of the things that we do is become like what's called a staffing agent. We walk you through the whole process of looking for a job. We stay with you. We give you interviewing tips and techniques. We show you how to get those resources if you need additional things for the interview. So we try to make it as inclusive as possible and also let you know that we're there to help you and to work with you to find a position in Springfield Public Schools. So part of our recruitment efforts, we attend job fairs and career fairs. We have positions that are posted in our HBCUs, which is our historical Black colleges and universities. We also post in our career fair centers or career centers at the MSIs, which are minority serving institutions, or HSIs, which are Hispanic serving institutions. We also post positions in local newspapers. We speak to colleges and universities about career advancement day, about coming to work for Springfield and what Springfield has to offer. We also feature myself and some of our team. We go on radio stations to do advertisement, podcasts, anything to try to get our applicants to apply to Springfield Public Schools. Our next slide, which is actually very good news, is our teacher demographics. And to the left, you're going to see the percentages, and to the right, you see actual numbers, which are FTE counts. Those are actual people. And so you can see how we break from 2012 to 2023. It'll show you each category and the progress that we're making in that subcategory. So we also have broken it down by gender as well. So you get a bigger picture of who's in our district as far as it relates to teachers. And we've done the same for our paraeducators. So as you can see, the diversity data there as well for our various subgroups by the percentage to the left, and to the right will be the actual count of people. And we go from 2012, which is when Superintendent Ward began, until 2023. Our next demographics will be our administrators, which are both school and district. And once again, to the left is the percentage, to the right is the count. And you can see how our population, our demographics has increased over the years and particular subgroups. The next slide is actually our custodians, and most people don't realize that we not only recruit teachers and paraeducators, but we also recruit everyone that works in our district. And so as you can see, the custodial pool, this is just an example of another subgroup which we help recruit. You can see the demographics there. The left is the percentage, the right are the actual numbers that we have. And so most people find it fascinating that not only do we recruit in the schools for the paras, the teachers, we recruit custodians, technicians, everyone that works for Springfield Public Schools. And the great thing about our pipelines is that if you are any of those groups, the custodians, the technicians, and you're interested in going back to school, we work with you as well to get those degrees. Our next slide is the EPRIMS data from the state. And this data does not include custodians, bus monitors, crossing guards, technicians, or substitute teachers, or non-other bargaining units. So a specific group of people that the state looks at in this demographics. So as you can see,
I think we lost,
I think she lost her internet.
yeah.
No, well, I can go ahead and continue until Valerie is able to rejoin us. This group, as Valerie indicated, is all the EPIMS reported staff demographics. So that's she mentioned the ones that are not included, but it does include groups such as the teachers, the administrators, our paraprofessionals, our nurses, etc. So this gives you a snapshot of what the data looks like there. Again, same makeup. We have the percentages on one side and the count of actual numbers on the other side. And I see that Valerie is back, or I don't know if you would want to continue, or I can go on. We're on to the next slide.
my internet is just not cooperating today of all day.
Doing a great job. It's great.
But our slide, I'm not sure if you heard this particular slide or not. So our last slide just compares Springfield Public School to the state. And so as you can see, as a whole, we are achieving great numbers in Springfield Public Schools as compared to the state for a lot of their subcategories. Are we where we want to be? No, but we continue to strive to get there. And our last slide is all of our staff members, every unit that's included in our all staff demographics. So you can see us as a whole on what we look like as Springfield Public Schools. And like I said, we constantly continue to make strides. We're getting to every day we strive to make those numbers go higher and to make them go up. But as a staff, we work well together to try to get those things to happen. And I think that is our last slide.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. That was very informative, and I know school committee members have questions. Just off the top of my head, I did some quick calculation. Of the 10 colleges or universities, you're really pulling from under 10%, about 9.8% of my calculations of the whether black or Hispanic. And it does seem that the Latino are making gains on it. This is something that has been a challenge not only in Springfield, but in the Commonwealth and the state. And I did notice, though, under Superintendent Warwick, let's go this 10-year or decade, we were probably drawing, at my calculation, 32.8% of brown, black or African American or Latino. Now we're up to, including those of two more races than all the new hires, 56.3% incorporate the new hires of whether black, Hispanic, or of two races being called in. And also your presentation, very good that we're trying to enhance the pipeline, trying to make it more attractive to go into the teaching profession, which I think is key. So before I turn it over to the superintendent and other school committee members, you're really drawing from a very, very limited base, under 10%, 9%. The minority community is going into education, but we've increased on the new hires tremendously. Again, was 32.8% in 2012 to now, my calculations, including those of 2 or more races, 56.3 of the new teacher hires are of Black, African American, Hispanic, Latino, or 2 or more races. So this is very comprehensive, and especially on the pipeline to make it more attractive. With that, I will stop, and Superintendent Warwick, or turn it over to school committee members for any questions or comments.
Yeah, you go ahead, because I have several questions. Go ahead, Ms. Gresham.
Ms. Gresham, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Williams, for your
Yeah,
presentation.
that was.
So with the MTEL prep, how often do they do that? And is it a cost to the district, or the staff person has to pay themselves?
No,
Yeah.
it's no cost to the staff. We have in-house MTEL prep, as well as a lot of our colleges and universities offer it to the students that are enrolled, which are employees in their programs. But for Springfield Public Schools, we have a great program that we have in-house, that we provide those Intel prep courses at no cost. And in addition to that, we also provide Intel vouchers, thanks to grants that we've received for the district, so that our employees don't have to pay for those Intel tests, as long as we have the vouchers available.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Ms. Hirsch?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Valerie, for the presentation. I have a couple questions. The very first slide in your presentation that talks about the overall teacher shortage across the country, I just wondered, do we have any local data, and do we have any data that breaks it down by racial demographics? So I asked that question because I'm wondering, is the research showing that there is a particular group of individuals that are least likely to go into the field, or are we seeing that across all racial demographics? And I asked that question based on the slide around the number of Blacks and Latinos going into higher ed and studying education.
So I can see if I can find that particular data for you that you're looking specifically for this state and for, or are you just looking across? Is it just state that you want, or just?
I'm just wondering if there is a trend that overall there's a teacher shortage, and that is just not a profession that individuals are going into, or is it, or are the numbers saying to us there are particular individuals who are not going into education, and perhaps it's because of the pass rate of the MTEL exam. So I'm trying to understand, like get really granular around understanding who is not going into the field of education. Is it everyone, or are there particular racial groups that are not going into the field? And so we're seeing a shortage there, we're seeing a specific shortage there.
I think you have two things going. I think you have a teacher shortage, but I also think that you have for particular racial groups as well. So basically, you have both things that are going on simultaneously at the same time.
And so I guess, Superintendent, I was wondering, how does that impact our expansion of universal pre-K? Like, are we seeing that teacher shortage, seeing as though we're expanding universal pre-K? We're gonna, at some point in your report, you'll go over our, the number of classrooms that we're opening. Are we able to staff them, or are we wishfully thinking?
No, we are working really hard. It's a challenge. So as we work towards universal pre-K, which we all wanted to do, we hit the great resignation, right? So staffing challenges are there. So we've been really working hard on our pipeline programs. We've been working hard to recruit, and we're filling the openings, but a lot of the help has been some of the creative work from the team relative to our pipeline program. So bringing, former paras up to the teacher piece and giving them assistance. And working through the licensure pieces with them. But we have all of our classroom staffed right now.
Okay, and they have to
will
be
continue.
staffed with a certified teacher and or a paro?
Certified teacher or someone on a waiver or an emergency license, which are two vehicles we were given to help us staff and then work them up. And Val talked about all the programs we have with the colleges to help these folks then get fully licensed so we can keep them. But we have every classroom staffed right now, and we're going to continue to work hard and make it happen because our kids deserve the program.
Right.
Thank
And
you
so,
for
Ms.
that.
Hurst, if we did not use our pipeline program, we wouldn't be in as great shape as we are now.
Right.
Got it.
So if we just used that data from the first chart and we just saw just what the trend nationally is and didn't do anything about that to offset it, it would look totally different. But because we have those pipeline programs and our paraeducators are becoming teachers, that helps us a great deal.
We'd have never gotten there without the creative programs.
Got it.
It's a great question.
Thank you for that. And then on page 6, when we're comparing 2012 to 2022, do these numbers under 2022, are these inclusive of the ZEP, of the zone?
No.
No, this does not include the zone at all.
No.
Pretty good.
No.
And then I think my other question, Superintendent, was for you. Remember, and I apologize because I don't remember the name of it. And I know we changed the name. What did we change Project Lead to?
Project Lead we've had, but we call it our Promise Program.
Okay, our Promise Program.
Yeah, the Springfield Promise.
And that's still in existence?
Yes.
Okay, and
We've modified it. We've increased the numbers. We're working with AIC, and quite frankly, that's how we're filling most of our administrative openings. And of course, we've been able to recruit our own people, get them trained, get them licensed, and that's what's helped us with the administrative filling the openings, but also increasing the diversity.
And then I'm very sorry, Mayor, my last question,
not to be
back
sorry
to page number 6. So while this is new hire data, what is our retention data? Like year over year, what do these numbers look like? Do we have that? Do we know that?
Oh, I can find that out for you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst.
The challenges in this environment are not only recruitment, they are retention, right? Keeping people is a huge challenge. The school committee was very supportive in making drastic improvements to the teacher's contract over the last 2 or 3 contracts. That's really helped us. So we've been able to improve our retention numbers because we're more competitive. And I think out of a lot of the opportunities we offer folks for PD and advancement has also helped us with the retention. But there's been a great deal of focus on retention. We'll pull those numbers for you.
Can I just, quick thing, Ms. Hurst brought up a good point. I think, with Superintendent Ward, if we were able to gather or add the data of the empowerment zone, I would think these numbers would go up a little bit more too, I would think. So
the empowerment zone tends to, yeah,
reflection.
sure. They actually have a higher staff turnover because of the way the schools are.
That's true.
So they've been able to turn over more hires. So consequently, as you're doing more hires in this environment, you're going to be able to make more that are minority hires. So they have some very good data.
So that would add to.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great presentation, Ms. Williams. I just, I have a question and perhaps a follow-up question. I saw the partnerships in one of the slides with all the various colleges, and I know many of those partnerships and pipelines had been pre-existing for a significant amount of time. Now, my question to you is, what are we doing that is new this school year in terms of both recruitment and retention? And the reason I ask that is because we're in an ever-changing world in society where we have workforces that are not only diverse in terms of race, but also leading workforces that are diverse in terms of generation. And all those generations have specific nuances how they associate themselves with the workforce. For example, some of older generations might stay with you 10, 20 years, and their value system in the workforce is totally different than what we're seeing with the current generations. So I asked the question about recruitment and retention, and how are we, if we are, taking those things into consideration, and do we have data about our workforce broken down by generation? Because that, to me, is an important factor that every employer is considering, not only in the US, but globally as well.
So all of our partners, whether they are new partners on our pipeline or have been there for a couple of years, if they are when they are college and university, in order to keep their enrollment up, they have to change as well. So you don't see some of the same programs that you may have saw 5 years ago or even 4 years ago. Because of COVID, a lot of things have happened and changed. So our colleges and universities are changing. And so the pipeline programs that you had 5 years ago, even though they may be with a particular school, are not the same content that it was 5 years ago, because they have to change. As we develop and change, they change. So I don't want you to think that the programs that are on the pipeline, that our partners have been there for a couple of years or many before I got here, that it's the same program day in and day out. They couldn't survive like that. So as you see, they will change. Like, for example, a lot of the schools now are doing MTEL prep within their own university courses, because they recognize that they have a vested interest to make sure that those education majors are passing to become teachers and are becoming licensed teachers. So each time they look at their programs, they modify the program to fit what we're going through in this particular era. So that's a lot of that too, is a lot of our staff members sit on those committees with them. For example, I'm on 3 advisory committees with some of these colleges for their education department. And my role is consistently to go over the coursework, to go over the curriculum, to go over culturally responsive classroom, professional development. So we constantly work with that university to make sure that they are current in what they're doing and to match the needs of our district as well, to enhance our student learning. So they're not stagnant where they are. And that was a very good question, because you're right. Sometimes if you've been a partner for 10, 20 years, you don't change. But since COVID has happened and enrollment across the board in universities is not where it used to be, they're becoming innovative and they want the enrollment to continue to go up. So you'll see a lot of coalitions with districts, not only with Springfield, but a lot of us become partners with those colleges and universities. And for example, things that have never happened before, I will sit on those higher education boards, which is something that as a school district, that never happened before. So they're constantly trying to change and reinvent themselves so that they maintain consistency.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Mr. Mayor, if I could ask a follow-up question. So I heard that a lot of the partners are the same, but the content of a lot of those programs obviously have changed as universities try to continue to remain relevant in this day and age. My follow-up question to you, Ms. Williams, is have we changed? So the programs have changed, understanding the nuances of the generations that are coming up that are going to fill the spaces of the workforce, but has the district also looked at some of those things as well? Because again, I see the data broken down, diversity in terms of race, but again, going back to the question about the generational matter, about recruitment and retention, all those things are different amongst every generation. Communication style preferences are different. Retention is different. The data and the stats are showing us that. So are we making any considerations as it relates to those trends?
Yes. If the district is changing along with the district will not be the same. It can't remain the same. So we constantly change, and you'll see that throughout like our professional development. You'll see that throughout the classrooms when you walk through the buildings. What you saw 6 years ago is some of the same that you will not see when you walk in the classroom tomorrow. So you constantly have to keep changing and evolving. Is it evolving at a huge rate? It's getting there. So just like with everything else, evolution takes some time, but we're getting to where we need to go every day. So every day, it's a new task, it's a new change. And so for that, I would tell you, like, no, the district is not the same as it was 2 years ago. It's not stagnant. It's not staying where it is. It's not closed its mind to new ideas. No, it's very open, making progress.
Yeah, Ms. Williams, could you provide any specific examples on how we've changed to consider generations such as millennials, Gen Z? I mean, how have we changed? Are we culturally aware of those things?
I think we are. As a former principal, you have multi-generations in your building as teachers. So you have the teaching staff that has their veteran teachers, you have the new teachers, you have teachers that are kind of, I call it my in-between teachers. But we all come together for a common vision, a common mission. And so as a principal or as administrator, you have to appeal to all of those generations. And I think that Springfield does an excellent job of doing that so that we're not stuck in one millennium. We're not ignoring our teachers that are just graduating. We're not ignoring the teachers who are career changers coming back into the field. So we're constantly trying to make sure that all of the needs of our staff and students are met.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Williams, and thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Collins?
More of an observation. Page 4 really surprised me, quite honestly. Number one, Bay Path surprises me because I'm looking at their percentages, and they're much stronger than I would have expected. And I think that's the first question, Valerie, though, would be, that chart on page 4, does that include only undergraduate, or does that include undergraduate and postgraduate? Or do you know?
Includes undergraduate.
Just undergraduate. So then it's even more startling, I think. Because I take a look at Westfield, and they, in the 60s, they had the very first, what they used to call the urban ed program, and those percentages were significantly higher. And in all of the state schools, it would not, it's really kind of disturbing, at least to me, looking at this, because I don't think it's an illogical assumption to look at this chart and come out believing that there is an increasingly smaller percentage of diverse students going into education, which is going to do nothing but exacerbate this problem. And looking at this chart, I have every reason to believe that that's true. That, I mean, it was small before, and now it appears to be shrinking. So I applaud you at the efforts that you've been able to do. Out of an increasingly shrinking pool, you've been able to increase our numbers. But I worry about the future. If that trend continues, we're going to have almost no diverse students going into education, and that's not good for anybody.
Thank you, Mr. If you're done, Mr. Collins, Ms. Hurst?
So to your point about Bay Path, we also have to remember that they have the women's college and they do online. And that is a significant difference in enrollment in higher ed. They're non-traditional students. I think I would be really interested to know, like, are these, and that's a lot of work, so I don't expect you to do that, Valerie, and there's probably some information online, but to the point that you're making about Bay Path, they're known to cater to non-traditional students, to people who are going back to school to further their education. And some of these are really traditional institutions whose main population are high school graduates.
That was why I asked if this just was undergrad included.
Yeah.
Their first push was grad work.
Right.
And getting people in. And then they evolved into looking and doing a lot of online work and the non-traditional in undergrad, which that kind of explains their numbers. It's the rest of the numbers that give me reason for pause. If that's the trend, That's a problem.
I did notice, and that's what caught my eye right off the bat, that data is not included from AIC, American International College, University of Massachusetts, and I know with AIC, they're non-traditional students too, and I would think you'd be interested, Ms. Williams, and you did an outstanding job, you and Melissa, but Ms. Williams, excellent, especially on the pipeline, which you're trying to increase on a limited field to draw from. If the AIC numbers are going to come across and/or UMass, I know we have the University without walls, but especially AIC, because I know they try to go out of their way too to recruit.
So I think I can help with that one, Mayor. The AIC right now, what's licensing is the grad program, and they're going to start to license their undergrads again.
Okay.
So they wouldn't have the data right now because they don't license the undergrads, but they are working on that with the state. Yeah, they are working on that with the state, though.
And other things also. But
That's part of Hubert's plan, so
President Benitez, okay.
they are working on that.
Thank you for clarifying that. And how about with UMass Amherst? Any Ms. Williams on UMass Amherst, that there's no report on them? I know we have campus on Springfield here, so.
Yeah, it probably is, which I can go back and include it in
We can
there.
get that, yeah.
I'm just wondering, because maybe that, okay. But it's great, what a great report and great job you did, Ms. Williams, on this, really putting out the challenges that are being faced not only in Springfield, but the Commonwealth and the country.
It's a challenge across the
But
country.
we made some gain.
Additional point, Mayor, this is not only frightening because it is an ever-shrinking pool, it's also geography.
Yeah.
You know, it's shrinking out here. And trying to get kids to relocate from the Boston suburbs to Springfield.
Yeah.
You know, it's really most of the shrink. AIC no longer has an undergrad program. Westfield has shrunk. It's shrinking out here, which is another challenge for us.
No, you brought up, because when you thought of Westfield State Teaching College, thought of Bridgewater State, Worcester State, Fitchburg State Teaching College. The Elms would also be one. And you look at some of the, I got to tell you, that I was surprised at Westfield State, because when you tally that, it's 4.1% to draw from. African American, Black, or Latino. But some of the, the noted colleges were always known as teaching colleges, teachers' colleges. So, any other questions or comments? This was Superintendent Warwick. I commend you and your hierarchy administration, Ms. Williams and Attorney Shea. This is really comprehensive, and a couple things, as members pointed out, really just in our scribbling calculations really jumped out on us. But we have made gains. Again, when you look at it from 2012, where it was 32.8%, we are now 56.3% new hires being of a minority nature. And so right direction, pipelines being enhanced, and limited pool to draw from across the country, period. And then we are also, I think Mr. Gonzalez had mentioned before, we are also recruiting in traditionally black colleges across the country, and also in Puerto Rico, I understand, too, on that. So,
Yeah, great job to Val and the team.
Great job, Valerie. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions or comments, okay. This was enlightening information. We'll now move to excuse me, allergy season. We'll now move to reports of standing committees. A is Student Relation Parent Concerns, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. B is Buildings Maintenance Committee, Mr. Collins.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. C is Legislative Contracts Committee, Mr. Gonzalez.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. D is Curriculum Programs Committee, Ms. Hurst.
No report at this time, Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Collins.
Just a thank you to the committee for finishing up about 3.5 to 4 months worth of work, and with the outstanding Finance Department, award-winning, and crafting a budget that I think we all believe addresses needs of kids. So thanks for all the hard work for the committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Collins, and the whole team. And again, to the viewing audience and public, as we say, a lot of times you'll see things voted through, but a lot of the hard work and time-consuming work goes on with the subcommittee chairs, 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. So, and that was a unanimous vote on the budget. Any questions or comments on Mr. Collins' report? Okay, hearing none. Vocational Education Committee, Attorney Murphy. Thank you, Attorney Murphy. Technology Commission, excuse me, Technology Committee. Too many acronyms. Vice Chair Naylor, thank you. School Safety Committee, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Ms. Hurst. And again, we just got a great report from Ms. Williams. Ms. Hurst?
No report, Mr. Mayor, although that didn't come by way of that committee.
But it's...
Yeah, but it's definitely pertinent. I
Yeah.
think it would have been great for it to, but no, it did not. But I have no report at this time.
Thank you. Student representative to school committee and Charles Cope, again from Springfield Central. We had a trifecta of great students from Springfield Central. If he's hung in there, Mr. Cope, we'd love to hear from you. I think we're going to try to make a change to get the student rep on a little earlier. But I don't know, Mr. Cope, if Charles is on. And again, if he had to jump off, our apologies, but we appreciate your inclusion. Say again, Mr. Charles Cope, Springfield Central High School student rep. Okay, thank you. Hopefully we'll hear from you again next time. Report of the superintendent. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet, there's an article on our preschool program. Denise talked about it earlier. We're looking at demand. We're going to add 17 more classes throughout the city again this year, including our 3 centers. That's going to meet our demand for, again, all 3- and 4-year-olds. We're the first in the state that's been able to do this. Boston has reported that they're working on it too, but they haven't been able to do it for 3-year-olds. So it's been a tremendous challenge. We talked about not only finding the space in the schools, but finding qualified staff and filling them at this time has been very hard. But it's so worth doing. And as you go around to our elementary schools, you go into those preschool classes where the kids are at now compared to what we used to have entering kindergarten is going to be a quantum leap, and it's really worth the investment. So really proud of the team on preschool, and we'll work hard all summer to get those staffed up. There was a piece from Links to Libraries I saw this week. They made their 1,000th book donation to the schools. Right. So they've been a great partner with Springfield for many years. I went to the Urban Soups Network meeting, the urban superintendents, and there were some updates and a long update from Rob Curtin, who does all the work on MCAS. And I thought there were some pertinent pieces there. They're making some changes in the MCAS, and it's going out to bid to a new vendor. And some of the changes are going to be that the test is required to be given at the grade levels we give it. So the test is a federal requirement. What they are going to do to try to handle some of the issues that have been with the test is they're going to use more AI scoring, so the artificial intelligence, and they've done validity work, and it's like 99th percentile. So it'll deal with the problem of the slow turnaround. So we're not getting the results late summer, fall. We'll be getting the results sooner so we can effectuate more planning for kids. So that'll be a step in the right direction. One other step they're taking to expedite the turnaround is they're shortening the ELA test. And instead of 2 writing tasks, they're going down to 1. And they feel they can get valid results but control the time. They're going to try to keep the time down to 9 hours of testing a year. So they're looking at 9 hours is the most they want to spend testing, looking at the 900 hours that the kids are in school. So that's the goal. One thing that they're talking about, and of course they've been talking about this since 1993, is a civics test. But I really do think a civics test is coming, and it's going to be in grade 8 in the future, and we'll be doing that civics test. So I do think that's going to add, but it won't take us over the 9 hours because they've cut the ELA testing back. Those are some of the things that they're required to do and looking to do. There's a great debate out there relative to should we still be using a test for CD requirement? We're one of only 7 states in the country, and we happen to use the hardest test in the country for a CD requirement. That'll get debated because that is not a requirement. That is a state, that was a state decision. So I think that debate is ongoing, and a lot of people are engaging in that debate. So the testing will continue. I think people will be giving input on whether there's the efficacy of this CD requirement that Massachusetts put in. So that's a good update from the commissioner on the testing program. We were also told by the commissioner to expect there was a significant influx of refugees, like thousands are coming into Massachusetts. So we're gearing up here. I spoke with the commissioner and some of his staff. So we'll be ready to accept those refugees. We have a long history of dealing with a volume of refugees. I don't know if you remember a few years ago during the problem in Puerto Rico. We took more students in than any other school system in the Commonwealth. So I've been out with Lourdes. We haven't received any huge influx yet, but I'm expecting in the next few days we're going to see some new students coming in. Lourdes and her team at the Student Assignment Center are ready and waiting, and Carrie Martins has been working with the different agencies. So based on the needs, language, and everything, we'll get those students placed. This time, they're promising us funding up front for these students instead of waiting a year in arrears. They're promising us to give the funding. They're going to work it out by day, actually, and give us the funding up front for all these new students relative to provide services. So they're going to give us a normal student appropriation, and they're going to give it up front. They're also going to increase the McKinney-Vento busing and pay for 100%. And for the first time, they're going to try to pay that up front and again not pay it, a year later. So they're putting things in place. They're also going to give us $1,000 per student for all the costs, like a laptop for every student, all those other things we do. So the state is trying to be more responsive to the way they help us with funding to deal with these refugees. But I do believe we're going to get a significant influx, and I do believe it's going to be very shortly, and we are ready, willing, and able to deal with it, and we're going to do what we've always done, step up to the plate and make sure we do the right thing for these kids.
Can I just comment on that? I have had discussions, more than a few, with Lieutenant Governor Driscoll, Kim Driscoll, and with Governor Maura Healey on it, that Springfield's always willing to help out to the best of our ability. Rabbi Green was in just the other day from Jewish Family Services, so we've been working or speaking about this for the last couple of weeks. But I also put across that Springfield's a very caring city. We're at capacity. There's residents that come to my office every other day looking for housing. We have difficulties doing that situation. We did speak about if we can, and Superintendent Warwick and the team have been very good, that reimbursement for the money, we need that yesterday, and that's going to come about. But I also call upon, and I've done it for years, we need our brothers and sisters in other suburban areas, in rural areas, to step forward, because you cannot continue to put upon poverty on top of poverty without any a clearing base and being able to give opportunities from that. So we'll continue to do our fair share, and Springfield's done it for year after year after year, but we need others who will talk a good game and indicate that this is the right thing to do, but yet when we ask those other surrounding areas, some more of the suburban and rural areas to do it, their comeback is always that we do not have the capacity to do that. Well, Springfield's has reached its capacity also, and that's not fair to the residents of the city of Springfield. It's not fair to the individuals who are coming in from traumatic situations, and I know they're trying to work on, the administration is trying to work on housing situations, which is a challenge, and maybe even old state buildings. Having a clearinghouse type thing where these individuals coming in need can get that one-stop shopping, get them prepped up and ready till when they can go out into, besides education, workforce, and possibly housing. Last thing I'll say, and to not all the members of Congress, but the federal government has been totally unwilling and inept in dealing with this situation. And they've just passed it down to the states and to urban centers across America. And they need to get their act together and start working together for the common good and come up with a comprehensive plan. With that Rule 42 now going away, I feel for that mayor of El Paso, having to deal with 7 blocks of people sleeping on the street. So urban centers such as Springfield will do the best to our ability, but we really need the federal government to step up and come across with a comprehensive plan and not continue to play politics with this. This continues to be a wedge issue, which means if it's a wedge issue on both sides, they're going to play it to the hilt. I'm far from perfect. We try to do what we can. We've stepped up during Hurricane Maria. We stepped up for the Afghan refugees who have come here. We stepped up for a number, Somali, Congo. We just had 20-something families 2 weeks ago that came in, and we stepped up. But we need other surrounding areas, and there are some that have stepped up, but other surrounding areas, suburban, rural areas, that need to do their fair share. And it's very difficult when I have people coming to my office who are Springfield people, Springfield residents, and they have no place to go. They have no place to go. So we'll do the best to our ability, but I'm glad some of the suggestions we made are being listened to when and if these people in need come to the city of Springfield. But again, I call upon the federal government to, you're just unwilling to do it, or in some cases with some inept, and you just keep using it as a wedge issue, and that is hurting gateway cities in Massachusetts and urban cities in the United States of America, because you cannot continue to concentrate poverty on top of poverty, especially when you're moving forward in all types of facets with the city of Springfield. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it, because we've done our fair share. And I think you're starting to hear pushback from other urban mayors across the state, other urban mayors across the country saying, how much more can we take? We have a big heart, we want to help, but we need some leadership at the federal level, and we need some other communities, suburban and rural communities, to step up and give us a hand. Help out with a few, percentage. That can mean all the difference. And there are many success stories you hear from these refugees that are coming over also too. But they come from traumatic situations, and if you put them in even more challenging situations, what type of success could they possibly have? So thank you for listening for that, and Superintendent Board, but I just wanted to get that out, because potentially we are facing an influx of hundreds, if not thousands, coming to this area.
And Pat Tutwiler made a visit, the new Secretary of Education, who's the former superintendent in Lynn, went through Brightwood School, was extremely impressed with the whole plant, but also was very impressed as we went through all the classrooms with what he saw going on, because it was more than impressive, and really gave us kudos on that. It's nice to see the Secretary of Education actually coming around to the urban school districts again, like Matt Malone did. This is a nice change, and I think Pat's going to be responsive to the needs of the urban centers. So, being a former urban teacher and superintendent, we're concluding a lot of activities for Teacher Appreciation Week, and we had our Grinspoon Awards last night, and we were there with several other communities. It was a fun event. Our teachers were really appreciative of the event. And of course, we had more teachers from Springfield than all the other communities we were with combined. So that was pretty cool too. So it was a very nice event for our teachers, and well deserved. New program we're going to do this summer, Harry DeMay stepped up, and he's been working with us heavily on our Portrait of a Grad, work with our strategic plan. And he talked with Hubert Benitez, and they talked about stepping up and helping us get some extra help with reading teachers for our summer programs. So the Elms, AIC are working together in Western Mass to help us recruit some extra teachers for the programs and provide some specialized training in reading. So undergrad students and grad students, and hopefully that'll help us again with some of these folks with the whole pipeline piece, because it's another recruiting tool. But Harry's been an ace, and I just want to give kudos to him. He's gone out of his way to help us. And the last piece is there's a contracts report in your packet as well. If you have any questions, Pat or I would be available.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments pertaining to Superintendent? Yes, Mr. Gonzalez, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to acknowledge the point that you made, Mr. Superintendent, about the testing, utilizing the AI, and that being a trend as well in the nation. I had a conversation with Attorney Phelps in regards to how we're safeguarding our records and student privacy. And Attorney Phelps, if you wouldn't mind, if I could call upon you, if you could just share a little bit how we're safeguarding that for the public's knowledge and even for the rest of my colleagues. I think that's important, because we're using a lot of the artificial intelligence is coming in with the classroom. A lot of things are coming in now.
Attorney Phelps, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Contracts that Springfield Public Schools enters into with third-party vendors who are doing work that would otherwise be done by an employee. They are labeled under FERPA, the Family Education Privacy Act, the federal act, and as well as Massachusetts law, as school officials. And given that designation, they fall then under FERPA and are responsible with all of those federal regulations. For those vendors who are not, because of their work, considered school officials, I write into their vendor contracts an obligation of confidentiality if, in fact, during the course of their service to the district, they may be exposed to student record information, and that's a very broad term both under Massachusetts law and FERPA, that they have that obligation. I've also requested that certain vendors who are working in the schools, who are not school officials, that each of their employees sign a confidentiality agreement. And in that agreement, it indicates that should there be a breach of the confidentiality, immediate termination by the vendor. So there are contractual provisions in order to safeguard, as well as the federal and state laws.
Thank you, Attorney Phelps. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for entertaining that.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez and Attorney Phelps. It's important clarification as this AI, and I was telling Vice Chair Naylor, Bitcoin, all these things that seem at times to be Ponzi schemes, which are coming to light now. So we have some safeguards in that situation. Any other questions or comments pertaining to the superintendent's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to unfinished business.
I will have
Yes.
one thing.
Vice Chair Naylor, please.
I know that a couple of meetings ago, we were supposed to have a presentation from the empowerment zone, and it got moved around because of the issue that we had a few meetings ago. So I just wanted to, as a reminder, that we have a brief. Have to say that because that meeting, it was like a 2.5-hour presentation. So we're not going to have that. But we do want to bring an update because several committee members have asked for just an update. We know that we don't oversee the empowerment zone, but we do get a lot of calls from families who have students in the empowerment zone. So we would like to bring that to the entire board.
And we do have that on the last. We had scheduled it earlier. They had a conflict. Okay. We do have it for the last meeting, but I did emphasize brief because sometimes the meetings are a tad long.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And again, Vice Chair Naylor, Superintendent Warwick, and myself sit on that empowerment zone board also. And we do collaborate and work pretty well together. A lot of great things going on there for our students, but if we get a little bit of an update, I think that'll be enlightening also. So thank you, Vice Chair Naylor, and thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Anything else on unfinished business? New business? Hearing none, is there, go ahead, Mr.
We don't necessarily have to get into a discussion about it, but we know that there was an article that hit the paper, hit the media this week. I know we cannot discuss the personnel matters, but I do think that there is some value in having a curriculum and program subcommittee meeting to at least talk about or get further clarity around what is being taught, how that's being, what sort of professional development teachers are receiving, how things get decided if they're outside of the curriculum. And so I just want to raise that. I think there are several issues that were mentioned in that release. I more so am interested in having a conversation about the actual curriculum and the reading and the literature.
Great idea, let's schedule it.
Yeah, and I know the superintendent sent out a very distinct clarifying email about what occurred and what did not occur and what was done on actions also, too. Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Thanks, Superintendent Warwick. Anything more on new business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Vice Chair Nair. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Steiner?
Yes, more than sufficient votes. This matter passes. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week. And I hope to see a lot of our students and families at the world's largest pancake breakfast this Saturday as we give out thousands and thousands of free tickets. It's just a great mosaic of the city of Springfield, Western Massachusetts. Good evening, good health, and God bless.